Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with KeKe, Life, Love, and all that other shit. We are back for part two. We
Yeah,
are back for part two.
yeah.
Takenya, listen, we had a lot to talk about in part one.
Yes, we did. We covered a lot.
We did. So we were talking about the six indicators that helps promote positive mental health, right? And we
Yes.
got to the first one. So we're gonna just dive right into what the other five are.
Okay.
All right, so the fifth one, if we going from six all the way down to one, is having a positive relationship with others
Yes.
to help promote positive mental health. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit. The importance of having a good relationship with other people.
Well, I think that I go back to always saying that, you know, we were created for relationship. We were created to have relationship as the beings that we are, and we were created for community. And so when you take that piece, when you take that away, it can create like depression and things of that sort. And so I think that, and a lot of people feel they isolate. That's why it's so important not to isolate yourself or try your best to, because it's really hard when you dealing with your depression to, because you have no joy for anything, so it's kind of
Right.
hard, and it's kind of, your body's trying to revitalize itself, so it wants to sleep and different things, but it's like every once in a while you got to get up and you got to get out and move around and be around people, and just find that community, you know what I'm saying? And then it's in your journey. I know on my journey, I just began to find the people that kind of like really fit and understood where I was. That was another
Yeah.
thing that was very important, to
Mm-hmm.
finding my tribe, finding my community and things of that sort. But it's definitely important that you make sure that you're connecting with people, because we need that.
Yeah, and you just said something that was very vital. Having people that actually understand and care to understand.
Right.
Because most people don't understand depression or anxiety, and they feel like, oh, that's just a cop out, or whatever, you just complaining, or whatever the
Mhm.
case may be. We've all heard it. So it is good to find the people that actually understand, that you can connect with. Even if they don't understand, they're willing to understand.
Right.
That makes a big
Right.
difference.
They might not understand it wholeheartedly, but they give you grace, and they give you that space to be, who you are and what you are, and to and dealing with what you're dealing with, what I'm saying? So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And the next one, number four,
Okay.
autonomy.
Okay.
Like being able to govern over yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is a big one, because on those days that you don't want to get out of bed, and you know that you need to get out of bed because otherwise I'm gonna stay stuck in this what I'm in, you need to be able to have some tough love with yourself and say, come on, I know you don't feel like it, let's get up and let's go. So talk about the importance of just being able to govern over yourself.
Well, I think that's another area where you have to be very graceful. For myself, I was already hard on myself.
Mm,
So I had to go in the other direction, and I had to say, okay, it's okay to sleep. It's okay to get some rest. It is
hmm.
okay that you haven't done 12 things in this one day. You know what I'm saying? If you only could do two, it's okay.
Yeah,
Um, if you're stuck, then you have to begin to make sure that you are, like you said, governing yourself, to make sure that you're trying to get some movement. Because movement, and I listen, I used to be so irritated with my therapist. You got to get up and move. Listen, I don't have the energy to do it,
yeah,
but you have to, because those are the things that it's like what I learned, especially during COVID. What I learned is that your life really is a process of, I had to begin to create a system, right? It's the system that you live by daily. And when you shift and you go into the non-movement, and not getting up, not following a process daily, that shifts you. And so sometimes you have to recalibrate yourself when you're in
Mhm.
these depressions and this mode and things of that sort. And it may be a little rough to get up out the bed, but you got to get out the bed, move around, take a bath, eat, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I'm not saying that you got to do anything crazy, like try to clean the whole house or anything like that, because sometimes when you in depression, when you go in or you dealing with anything mental, right? We sometimes we miss days or we miss things that should be done. And then when we're feeling good, we try to get it all done at one time,
Yep.
and and so you have to be gentle with yourself. And another thing, like, ask for help, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Or acquire help. Like, I started having someone that would come and do my deep cleaning for me because I couldn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't have the energy to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
I would keep it up, or if you can't automatically get up and cook, if you're financially, able to do, maybe you have somebody make you do some meal prepping for you, where all you gotta do is put it in the microwave. Now you're eating, what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's so many different things, but we definitely have to get up and make sure that the system that we're dealing with on a regular basis is something that is pushing us forward to being, social, or, coming outside of your box of what you would usually do, in a depressed state.
Yeah, absolutely. All that matters, being able to make those sound decisions. Hey, I know that I don't really feel like it, but I need to do it anyway
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's easy to create a bad habit now.
Listen, and then you be trying to figure out why can't I, what's the problem? It's like, I mean, you've taken 30 days, and some people get stuck in their bed that long.
Oh, I know.
30 days you've been stuck in your bed, you haven't been able to do anything else, so now you got to recreate a system, and you got to get to moving, and you got to figure out what's working for you in this moment, not
Hmm.
before the moment, but at this point, like, what works for you, and
Hmm.
so, and I, like I said, I was so hard on myself, I wouldn't give myself the time, and I still struggle with that. I don't give myself the time that I need sometimes to just rest,
Yeah.
because I want, it's like I want to be able to, I'm off, I'm working, I work two jobs. So I work the salon and I work Metro. And I want to feel like I can have a normal life where I can cook and I can do this and I can do that. But you get 2 days off. And then it's like one day is just like needs to be rest. So, and then the next day you resting to get ready to go back to work.
Absolutely.
And I'm just
Yes.
like, so it's like a cycle, but I have to, I know for myself, I have to give myself more grace to just be able to just do nothing and be okay with that, because
Be okay with it.
I've lived such a performance-based life that now I'm trying to not perform to prove that I'm worthy. So that's where I'm at.
I it takes a lot of healing to even figure that out, like to even acknowledge that. Like I've been a performer so long, I just need to be able to come off the stage for a little bit.
Yeah, and look, and come off of it and be okay with the new life of not being on one. It's hard.
Yes.
It is
I,
so hard, especially when you still want to be, like, do the things that we're doing, be a voice and a face and be proactive in the community, helping out and things of that sort. It's like you trying to balance that thing, and it's definitely not the easiest thing to do, because
yep.
I
But you
know.
know what? That's where that grace comes in.
Yeah, you got to give yourself grace. You got to give yourself grace. Yep.
Absolutely. And so the third one, I'm sorry, is environmental mastery, like handling everyday actions. We just pretty much talked about that. Like you have to know that I don't need to get all 12 things on this list done.
No.
And if I can get two or three, I'm doing good.
Hmm.
So when it comes to mental health, I think the most important thing is to know that it's okay to not have it all together, to
Hmm.
give yourself grace. The problem occurs when you create that cycle that allows you to get comfortable in all of that. The next one is a feeling of purpose. We have to have a sense of purpose of who we are and what we're here for. It makes
Listen,
so much difference when it comes to mental health.
man, listen. I yeah. And it was the feeling of lack of purpose that got me suicidal.
Mm,
It was the feeling that I did not have anything to give that got me in a suicidal, depressive state, dealing with the anxiety and things of that sort. And once again, it's still with me, for me, being a performance-based person, dealing in that, I have to still, once again, pace myself
yeah.
and govern myself, like we were talking about, govern myself to the point where I don't allow myself to get caught up in a hype. And, you know, that I'm just doing because that's what my body, like my mind and my body are used to just performing,
Hmm.
and so it's definitely, it takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of talking to yourself, it takes a lot of just being aware, self-aware,
Hmm.
of of the things that you are now trying to change, and being okay, with the process. Like
Right.
for me, I'm really starting to learn how to be okay with the process.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that, being okay with the process, because it is a process. Every day is a different journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so myself, when I was depressed, I had to really realize that I cannot bring in yesterday into today,
Right.
because I would stay stuck and never have any progression. And
Mm-hmm.
until I started beating that into myself, I I I s- I found myself going back into withdrawal, sitting in dark rooms, wanting
Mm-hmm.
to stay in the bed,
Mm-hmm.
barely eating, didn't talk to people that much. And I didn't see me not talking to people as a symptom of depression at first, because I'm an introvert, so I don't
Yeah.
need to talk to people anyway. But when
Right.
it got to the point where when people would call, I look at my phone and be like, "Nah, I'm good." Then
Yeah.
it became a problem.
Yeah. I definitely, because in my mind, I wanted help. So and it was like people were calling for the normal life I had before where I was.
Hmm.
And I couldn't live up to that. I wasn't there, you know? And so I didn't want to answer the phone. I didn't want to, I wasn't excited for girls' night. I wasn't excited for um just, time with my friends. I just, that it was gone. Like it just had left. It's like it magically just disappeared. And so
Hmm.
the phone calls, I wasn't answering the phone calls. I think I probably was just talking to my son and to my mom more than anything. And that was, my son lives with me, so that was I'm always talking to him,
Yeah.
but my mom, it was like sparingly, it was like, listen, I'm tired, I'm sleep. She called you, were you sleep? Yeah, because I was sleeping the days away, you know.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that definitely is something that you have to pay very, very close attention to make
Yeah.
sure you're not going down that road, that hole.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the first thing, which I believe is very important, is have personal development. Like, do something to try to develop yourself more, to get out of that funk. And for me, it was words. I wrote, and that helped me a lot. So
Okay.
I wrote a lot of poetry, and you could tell because I still have the poetry books.
Okay.
So when I go back, I look at them like, her, you was really in a dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And going from the darkest part up into the lighter days,
Mm-hmm.
is like, dang, I can't believe I was writing like this. It was like crazy stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
everything is bloody and dead type stuff. And now it's like the sun is shining, I can see a brighter day and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, just to see the growth of where I came from. And
Yeah.
that's why I tell people all the time, yeah, I'll never go that way, because it was hard as hell to come back from that.
What?
So
Listen, I'm so
I
happy. That's why
yeah,
my shirt, it says on the other side. And
I'm still talking about that shirt though.
You see what I say, right?
Yes,
That's
love it.
exactly how I had to, that's the attitude I had to have. I was like, you not gonna take me out. Like, no, like, you know what? Like, fuck you. Nah, I got this. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so I
Exactly.
came up with it was just like on the other side. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Like, where can I get one of them shirts from though?
I got you. I got
Okay.
I got you. I got you. Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
I got you. But
Yes.
but it's like purpose is so important. And like
Mhm.
I said, I've always been a a mouthpiece. I've always been, if it wasn't ministry, if it wasn't just self-improvement, I've always been that person, always been that girl. And when I went through and I could not use my brain, I felt like I was, like I was just stuck and I
Mhm.
was just exhausted. And I
Mhm.
was like, hold up, like, no, like, girl, you playing conferences, you have events, like you do, like, what is going on? And my body was just like, no,
No, we ain't having it.
we're not having it, right? And you need the rest. And so that made me even more depressed because I felt like I am not, once again, because of the performance based,
Mhm.
I'm not performing like I know I usually should or could. But it was just like that at that moment. It was time for my body just to recalibrate itself. And then I had to be okay and say, you know what? This is where I'm at. I'm gonna be right where I am. And then when life and all of the processing that I did allows me to get back on the horse, like I'm doing it now, with the yellow table, because for a
Mhm.
long time, like for about 2 years, I didn't, I would post still inspirational things, but I really wasn't in that lane of trying to just do it.
Mhm.
And then I just began to see that I was getting a little bit stronger and I was able to do a little bit more and more. And then it went into I was like, you know what, I want to have something that people can tangibly have. And I was like, what can I do? Well, what do you love? I'm like, I love journaling. So that's when I was like, oh, let me see how I can make a journal.
Mhm.
So but it was a process. Like it was a slow process. Another thing I had to be okay with is slowing down. I was always
Mhm.
used to being fast paced. Everything got to be fast. And so I'm learning how to take my time. That's something new for me,
Yeah.
especially in the type of business that I was in for most of my life. I was a cosmetologist. And in the era that I was a cosmetologist, we did 18, 19 people a day.
Yeah.
The numbers were not as high as they are now. So we had to have more people to make more money. Now
Mhm.
people charge more. They don't need as many people. But so
Right.
when you just always. And so I didn't understand and know that even on my job, it had created a sense of anxiety, but it was so normal for me. I didn't know that I was a high functioning, functioning high in anxiety, until I wasn't able to do the hair and stuff during COVID, and
Right.
started just showing up. It was like I used to be sitting around like this, like because I was just so used to doing
Yeah.
movement, and my mind was used to moving at a fast pace. So when that thing slowed down, my body was like
In shock.
in shock.
Mhm.
And I couldn't believe it. I was just like, this is what happens. Oh my God. It's just called rest.
Yes.
I'm like, listen,
But
so
that rest, man, listen, one thing I've always gotten my rest. Don't get me wrong, but as you get older and you're trying to build and you see the bigger picture, you start to speed up, you start to, working late at night, getting up early in the morning, stuff like that. And that's how I found myself. So
mhm.
now don't wake me up if I'm sleeping.
Don't
Please let me sleep.
listen. Don't wait right now because I work at night from 3 to 11.
Hmm.
So I get home around 11:30. I probably go to bed like 12:30. Do
Hmm.
not ask me to do nothing before 10 o'clock right now. Like
Right.
because I need that sleep. I need that rest. You know what I'm
Rest.
saying? Like I'm not up, so I'm not that one that's like, I'm up at 5. First of all, I ain't never like being up there early. I've never been the one that's like, I'm up at 5, I'm up at 6. No, I'm up at 8. That's the normal people time.
Or 9.
Or, or 9 o'clock. Listen, normal people time is 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. That's normal.
Yes.
But
Yes.
so yeah, I ain't never been one to get up at no 5 o'clock in the morning. They said that
Not unless I have to, and then I have to prepare myself the night before to get up there early.
let me tell you, the only time I want to get up at 5 o'clock is to catch a flight. That's the only time I'm getting up. That's the only time I'm getting up at 5 o'clock.
And see, I get up at 5:30 every morning because my son is 15 and I gotta make sure he don't sleep through his alarm because I will
Okay.
hear his alarm going off. And I'm
Okay.
like, I know you hear your alarm in your
Yeah.
room with you because
Yeah.
I can hear it in my room.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So yeah.
school, look, he had to be to school at 7. So I did have to wake up, like I woke up at like 6:30 to nudge him. But honey, I was back in that bed.
Now when he get on the bus, like text me when you make it on the bus.
Yeah.
I'm back in the bed, but I have to be at work for 8, on my job where I work for other people. But
Yeah.
when I was working solely for myself, and I
Yeah.
worked for myself for 13 years, so I was on my own schedule. I slept when I wanted to sleep, and I got up and I worked when however long I wanted to work, and I loved that. And so, you know, to make sure that my business didn't go under, I took another job. I mean, I work from home remotely for Jim, but it is something that I enjoy. I talk to people all the time, hence the
We,
podcast.
we got the same story. We talked about that. We have the same
Yes.
story. I was 27 years. I ain't, okay, I had a job. I had jobs when I was a teenager,
Yeah.
right? But from an adult, I've never worked for anybody. Like I've always
Mhm.
worked for myself. So this is new for me. It's been a year and some change now. So I'm like,
Me too. It's been a year from yes, a year has changed for
like,
me
oh my
too.
God. I was like, sometimes I feel like I'll crash and burn a couple times. I was like, I don't know about this,
Listen,
but
I'd
this
be
is
like, do I really want to go in there today?
listen. But then when I think about the fact that I don't want to be living with nobody and I don't want to be in no shelter, I'd be like, let me get my butt up and go do this job.
Listen, thank
So
God for my husband. Shout out to him because man, listen,
hubby,
that's a cushion for me. That is a
yeah,
cushion for me.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, and we can laugh and joke about it, but it's a hard reality that you have to face. Like I have to do something that I really don't want to do to make sure that I'm good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely something I have to try to get around. Like when I'm like, it's a 5-day work week, Monday, Tuesday, by Wednesday, I'm telling myself, girl, you got this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got it. You can do this. So
Uh,
yeah, but I knew that my job has 2 shifts. They have a 7 to 3 and a 3 to 11. And I knew that I was never gonna do the 7 to 3. That's not happening. I don't like
look,
no.
we'd have been buddies on the job because I've been on that 3 to 11 too.
Yes, don't. Mm-mm.
Yeah. And see, I work 10-hour shifts 4 days a week. So you already know if I didn't talk to people all day, don't talk to me when I
And
get
you do
off.
customer service too, right?
Mhm.
I do too. I do customer service, but I just do it where people actually can put their hands on me. I'm walking around and it's
Okay.
people stopping me, asking me how to get here, how to do this. I'm helping them out So it's the same thing, but
Yeah.
what I was trying to say earlier when you asked the other question about I can't even I can't remember which one it was, we were talking about schedules and things of that sort.
Oh, okay.
And that's another thing that helped me. It was getting out of the house, having a set schedule, um, and a pattern, and then my body, my mind, and everything fell in line with what had to happen, and that was
Mhm.
good for me. So
Yeah.
that it having the job or going to the job, because as a hairstylist, I only work Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I had a lot of time on my hands, a lot of time to myself. And then COVID, it was like too much time to myself. And it was
Mhm.
like, no, to get out of where you are now, you really need to have a schedule where you're doing a little more than what you had been doing. And so the job helped me out with that. And so
Yeah.
I have schedule, I have purpose, I'm getting up, I'm moving, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
I'm working out, I'm doing a lot of walking. So everything that we just talked about, all the steps, I am actually in that place and I've
Right.
done it all, and
Right.
it does help. It doesn't happen overnight, but all those things do help.
Absolutely. I love that. And I want to talk about something that you said on part one. We didn't
Okay,
elaborate a little bit on it.
all right, let's elaborate.
Being in the beat with the drums.
Okay.
You said that. I want to know. Elaborate. I love that, and I have an idea what you talking about. But I just want you to talk about that because somebody listening, I need to know that they just need to be in the beat with the drums. Like the drums gonna be there. That's gonna happen. Just be in the beat of it.
Listen, because I feel like your life is a rhythm,
Mm,
right? It's
mhm.
going back to having like I said, the schedule and having a system for your life and how it's set up, right? And being okay. You gotta go with the beat of the drum. You have to just like press in to the rhythm. It's kind of I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it, but press in, you know what I'm
Press
saying?
into the rhythm.
Like get into it and be and like kind of like riding a wave too, So and and your drum and my drums are not going to sound the same. They're not going to be the same. We have to be once again going back to being so self-aware and okay with self, you know what I'm saying? And and loving the music that you're making, like the drums have just loving the music that it's making for your life. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta embrace it because it's your life. And we live in this time where we take in too much information about other people
Mm-hmm.
because of social media, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it was made for you to be social, right? But
Hmm.
it's like it's really turned into another whole thing now, right?
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's another whole total thing. It's kind of a little bit beyond social. We know too much
Too
sometimes.
much.
Like
Like the sense
I
of entitlement. Oh my good.
and
Oh,
look, entitlement, um, people
cyberbullying.
cyberbullying.
Hmm.
That is, oh my goodness. So that is one of the things that made me not really want to open my mouth again. Like I didn't want to I haven't been cyberbullied. I haven't been
Okay.
cyberbullied, but it was just the thought of the fact that it could possibly happen.
Hmm.
Because
Got you.
the more and more you create, you more and more you reach, the more and more people are you going to be in people's fierce influence and
Hmm.
and the influence that you have. And so like people are mean. Like
Yeah.
I went viral on Instagram, right? Not nothing for what I said, but I had posted this post and it was about a lady and she was basically saying, she's a therapist, and she was basically saying in a nutshell, when a man leaves a woman out there to not putting her in a safe place, and you have her doing like all this work, like how grandma, right? Like grandma cooked, she cleaned, she just, but grandma also had the ability to stay home because you could
Hmm.
live off of one income. So
Income. Hmm.
what she was saying is now we work and you work, and to come home and cook and raise the kids, it's a lot. And when the kids are all gone, and they're grown up, it's a possibility that if you haven't created a safe space for her, she could kind of resent that later and be like, you didn't protect me the first whatever years or whatever. And when I tell you the arguments, like nobody ever said anything to me, right?
Yeah.
But the people that would post and come on there and the things and the arguments that they would say and they were saying to each other, I was just like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness,
Yeah.
like
It gets
it's
real. It
terrible.
gets real. And that just goes to show you that it's okay to have healthy debates within each other, but
Yeah.
just be respectful about it. But everybody's opinion is not the same when it comes to that
They
because at the end of the day, yeah, my husband work, I work, we take care of the household and stuff like that. Our dynamics work for us, but then we have to realize the woman that's going to work, but she don't have no help when she come home from the spouse, and she
Mm-hmm.
got to make sure that she make sure the kids doing their homework, get their stuff together, cook, clean, and everything else, and then take care of him. And
Yeah,
yes, just
and
to take care of him.
that's the dynamic that she was talking about. Like she was like, no one thing is covering everything. She was talking about that type of a dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
people were just like going, it was like they were so mean and nasty. The men that were coming in the comments, and they were just so bitter and mean. It was just, I was just like, whoa. So yeah,
Yeah.
cyberbullying is a whole real thing, you know.
Yeah. People
And
hide behind them screens and they feel like they could say whatever to people without consequences or
yeah,
repercussions.
or repercussions. Yep. Yep. So yeah, you definitely got to be ready when you are right when you want to get in front of the screen and start being influential and having some type of influence. You got to be ready because
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, I want to ask you this question that I ask all my guests. It's kind of on
Okay.
a personal note. What would your now self tell your younger self about the importance of maintaining a positive mental health?
My now self would tell my younger self it's the most important thing in your life. Because without your mental, you can't do nothing else. When your mental is gone, you can't work, you can't concentrate, your body can't move, you can't do anything. So what I would, the moments that I had where I was in situations that were not healthy for me, and I just would take for granted that I'm gonna get out of it and be able, like those moments, like don't do that to yourself. Like protect your mental. It literally is the catalyst to your entire life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we know that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So what would you say to anyone who's listening that some tips or something, because and then tell about your platform as well, because we talked about that in part one, but just tell them a little bit more about the Yellow Table. How
Okay.
can they find you? Where do you hang out? How can they be a part of it, or just connect and stuff like that? But yeah, just tell people, plug the Yellow Table, and then tell them how to make sure that they stay in a good headspace like it's needed. Mental health shouldn't be a stigma to talk about.
No.
There's a difference between mental health and mental illness. It's okay to shop around for a therapist, because we
Mhm.
talked about that in part one as well. So you guys that's listening to this part, go back and listen to part one if you haven't already. But yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Well, my name is Takenya Millhouse. I am the visionary of the Yellow Table. I consider myself a mental health influencer. You can find me on Instagram at the_Yellow Table, and TikTok the Yellow Table. What would I tell anyone? Advocate. You have to be your strongest advocate. I feel as though that I've come as far as I've come, and was talking about this. We talked about this in part one. 9 psychiatric stays. I took myself every time. I drove my own self every time. When I was in a bad state, I did not ask permission to get help. And I didn't ask permission for the help. So I advocated heavily for myself with how I went about taking care of my mental health. When I was dealing with the doctors, I didn't just let them give me and do anything to me. And I made them accountable also for the choices they made for me, you know. And so I just stayed on them. But you have to be your biggest advocate. I feel like I'm in this lane because representation is very vital in this time, because we as a community, we do not we it's still too much of a stigma.
Yeah.
As an African American community, we should not we should be so far past this. And then also, as you know, the African American community is we are, Christianity is one of the strongest religions in our community.
Mhm.
And we have to understand that a lot of things that were taught to us from a church-based mentality, that has to do with your spirit man. It doesn't have nothing to do with your physical man. And your physical man and your spirit, soul, and your body all are all one, but you have to deal with them all on different planes. You know what I'm saying? And so, like your physical body, you're gonna work it out. You know what I'm saying? Your soul, which holds everything, your mind, your will, and your emotions, where your mental and everything is, you're gonna deal with a doctor, and you're gonna deal with someone that can handle that part. And then you got your spirituality, where you're going to go to church and you're going to be fed. But all of them have their own different purposes and their own different ways that they need to be handled. But we as a people, we put everything under our spirituality. And that's
Yep.
not, that's just not, that's not helping. It has not helped the system. It has not helped us, and it has created a system that has hurt us more than it has helped us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I thank you for coming to kick it with me. It has been another pleasure. We could go on and on and on about
Yes,
mental
we
health, but
can.
I implore you guys to just make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Pay attention to your body. Pay attention to the thoughts that you are hearing or feeling and emotions and things like that. All that matters. It will let you know if you need to take a step back from something or someone. It will also tell you if you need to go and speak to someone or get the help that you need. Don't do yourself a disservice by ignoring you. Okay? We have enough people that ignore us on a daily. So don't ignore you.
We're
And
not
that's
in.
one of my biggest pet peeves. Like the quickest way to lose me in your life is to ignore me. Because I was ignored so much growing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think that I was ignored. I put myself, I isolated myself.
Mhm.
Now that I'm thinking about it, girl, because I was always under the bed. I didn't really want to be around people and stuff.
Right.
So I was under the bed or in my closet. So I guess my sense of being it, I guess I thought that they should have came and looked for me if I was
Right.
gone so long.
Listen, that's another thing before we go. I had to learn being my greatest advocate for, so everything that we're taught for the most part, and to a degree, is that somebody's going to come save us,
Yeah.
especially when you have a very strong spiritual background, because you got
Mhm.
your savior, you got God, he's coming. And it's kind of ingrained in us that we start thinking that everybody's going to save us, right? Like God is
Mhm.
our savior, but he definitely has put us on this earth, and he does everything through us. So he can't function in the spirit, I mean, in the natural realm without a body. And we tend to think that somebody's coming to save us in the natural, and they're not. Like you are the one that was sent to save you.
Mhm.
It's your job, through guidance of your spirituality and things of that sort. But the only person that's going to save you, and this is, it's hard, and it's still hard. And I wanted to be different, but nobody's coming to save you. You are your savior.
Yep. It's a hard reality, but it's true.
And I don't like it, but it's the
Mhm.
truth. And so, in order for that, they say you have to do everything in spirit and in truth, right? And the truth will set you free.
Mhm.
So even if we don't like it, the truth, it sets you free, you know.
The Y'all, the truth sets you free. I don't have nothing else to say after that. But you guys listening to another episode of Kicking It with KeKe. Thank you for tuning in. This is the season finale of season 6. I'll be back in the next couple of months with season 7, y'all. Season 7 is gonna look a whole lot different. Whole lot different. I'm super excited about which way that season is going. But until next time, make sure that you take care of you. That's all I got to say about that. And purple hugs.
Purple hugs.